get your record stuff. Welcome to Coding Club. I am so glad there's about 12 of you here now. It was like 2 minutes past, nobody was here, and I thought, am I on the wrong Zoom? Is there a thing going on today that I didn't realize? It's easier to teach this if there's like actual people I'm talking to. One announcement. It's in the beginning of the book now. So 30th of November, UCU's Planning and Industrial Action. I am a union member. I'm the union rep for my department, so I will not be doing work that day. I will be on strike on the picket lines, which I hate, but is necessary. The only way that we get out of this is if the universities put a reasonable offer on the table for pensions and pay. If that happens, I would love for it to happen, but I'm not holding out a lot of hope. Then we will have this this class on the 30th. But if not, the 10th one on December 7th was always meant to be like sort of catch up for stuff. So we'll talk about GitHub then instead. Today, we will be talking about vignettes. All right, so got this download package, I can put that away. All right, so main thing we need to do to get started, get yourself into your package project. So mine's already loaded up here. And load your project. So it's Shift Command L for me. Or you can always do this in the build. Make this a little bit bigger for y'all. Okay. In the build, we can load all here under the more drop-down bit. Before we start on vignettes, does anybody have questions about stuff they might have gotten stuck with up to this point? So what I want you to have right now is like a working package, or at least a package that's not full of errors, that has our self-res at data and the APA T-pair function. Okay. So you can either just unmute yourself and yell or put in the chat if you've got any problems, but if not, I will assume that everybody can do things like data self-res at, and that should pop this data set into your environment. You can see this data set. And you should be able to get the APA output for a t-test. So put something like APA t-pair, we'll do self-res at $f self, and we'll compare that with the F non column. And you should get something like that. So hopefully these two things will work for you. And then we're going to create a vignette. All right, so vignettes are the thing that you can see in package documentation. So when you want to figure out like, what vignettes does dplyr have? I'm going to assume everybody, or let's help ggplot. What vignettes does ggplot2 have? You can use the vignette function. If you just type a package name, ggplot2, you get a list of where are all the vignettes in the package ggplot2. So we've got ggplot2 specs. This is actually really useful. So we type vignette ggplot2 specs. You don't need the package name if it's definitely unique. So no other package has got a vignette called ggplot2 specs. Don't make a package that has a vignette called ggplot2 specs. That would be rude. And you can see then it should open up in the help pane, the vignette. So it's the HTML here. Let's see. So if you, like me, constantly forgetting, where are the line types? You can figure that out, or like, how do you work with sizes in ggplot? Or what are all the shapes? You know, you want an upright triangle, but you can't remember what number it is. they're all here. Color and fill, a bit of text, font base. So just little instructions on how do you use some of the aesthetic specifications. So what we're going to do is also make a vignette for our package. We're doing a like a study package. So it will be something going over like what are the data sets, orienting people to the data set that we're using, and showing all the analyses. Basically anything you want to make, you can just make documentation for. All right, so what we start with, pop into your Files tab and click on Demo Package so you can see everything you've got here. So you'll have some bunch of Git stuff and dot files, your data folder where we're keeping this .rda file. This is the data object where you keep your raw data and any scripts to process it. Your description, your license. Man is actually the manuals that have been created by Roxygen. When you do the documentation for each function, they get put into the man file or man directory. Namespace, a thing that you should never touch. R, where you're putting all of your actual function code. The README, so we can tell people what's going on with the package in general, and our testing suite. So that should be all of the stuff you have now. We need a vignettes folder, but I mean, a few other things to be sorted out in our build ignore and git ignore. So as always, use this. Has an awesome function. Is it use vignette? Yes. So we're going to use vignette to create our first vignette. If you haven't created any vignettes yet, it'll set up all the structure you need to do that. So we're going to make our first vignette. And if you're only going to make one vignette that's like overview for the whole package, give it the name of the package. So we're going to call it demo package. So the exact same name as your package. This will also do something special to it in the package down documentation website that we're going to make next week. All right, so you should see all of this. It will add knitr to the suggest field in your description file, and it'll just add a few things to your description file here, so you don't have to go in and sort out the vignette builder and suggesting knitr. It will also add the documentation files to your git ignore so that they're not saved in Git. We don't need to talk about why that is yet. It'll create a vignettes folder for you and add a few things to the git ignore for that as well. So you're not tracking the creation of files that actually you don't need to track because they're meant to be created from .rmd files. And then it's going to write and modify this demo package.rmd file inside the vignettes folder. The next time you run use vignette to make, say, a new vignette, you won't see these setup bits, just the writing and modification. And it should have popped open demo package.rmd, which will be inside your vignettes folder. So if it hasn't opened for you, go in there and open it. All right, so we've got the YAML header, setting things up, knitr options, and then it will load your package because the documentation for your package almost certainly needs to load your package. What we can sort out here first is the title. We probably don't want the title to be demo package by itself, so I'm just going to do demo package overview. Say what you want the title to be, and you need to copy that over here to line 5. So the vignette index entry needs to match the title. Apart from that, don't mess with this stuff. Just leave that the way it is. The next thing we have is the output type. So HTML vignette is a special output type. You know how when you make a regular R Markdown file, your output type might be HTML_document or Word document or PDF document. R Markdown has an HTML vignette type, and it makes the file sizes quite a lot smaller than your typical HTML document, which is important because CRAN is weird about file size. So you want your components to be as small as possible. We can have a quick look with at the help for HTML vignette, and that lets you know what are all the options we might be able to set. I don't like the default way of printing out tables, so I always set df print to cable. So let's skip a line, indent, put a colon at the end here, and enter. So there should be 2 spaces between our markdown, 4 spaces before this next bit, df print, colon, and cable needs to be in quotes. I think it is not in quotes in the book, which is a typo for me. Make sure you put it in quotes. Maybe that, I'm not sure. We can check and see if it needs to be in quotes or not, but let's put it in quotes for now. Maybe it doesn't need to be in quotes in the YAML header, but if it does, if you're going to use this function. All right, there's other things you can do, but we're just going to leave it at that. The knitter options set up what does it look like when you have a code chunk and an output chunk. So collapsing them mushes them together, and not collapsing them leaves a space between them. And the comment is how does output start? Like what characters show you that it's output? Normally there's 2 hash marks by default, but I feel like Hadley Wickham, this is his fault. This is what he likes them to look like. We'll change this in a minute just to show you like sort of what it looks like. We've got our setup here, which runs our packet or loads our package. So we can save this, and then the only other thing we need to do is start adding contents. So if you're making a vignette that is just the analyses for a paper that, like a study that you're putting together, if you have already an R Markdown appendix that lays out all the analyses, you can pretty much just copy and paste all that in here. Right, what we are going to do is copy from section 6.3. I'll pop that into the chat. Just copy these contents here. We'll make a data header and self-res at subheader. So, and just like a very brief explanation of what is this data set, where are the original data from, and then some code to make a, what's it called? A summary, but we cannot find the function summarize, and that is because it comes from dplyr. So we need to pop that in the setup as well. I don't want all that stuff. So I'll set message equals false. Just make sure that that doesn't show. And then this should create a nice table. Right, so we can knit this just to have a quick look. What's it look like? Oh, but if you knit it from here, what you're going to get is an error message. Maybe depends on whether or not you've installed demo package previously. But if you've not installed demo package, and because I'm working on like 2 versions of demo package, the one that is several classes ahead of where we are and the one that is this one, I delete it from my R installation before class every time. So if you get that error, you're going to need to install your package. Going to the build tab, just click install. Someone is ahead of us. Yeah, Katarina, I am ahead of you. I need to write these chapters before before Wednesday. I know I wrote today's chapter yesterday, but normally I'm a few weeks ahead. All right, so once it's installed, now you should be able to knit. without error. And then have a quick look at what's going on there. So probably there will be more explanatory text in a real one about what is this package? What's it about? How do you use it? If you're writing a function package, this is normally where you kind of tell people how do you get started? What's the first thing you would want to do with this? How do you load data into it? Or how do you use the major functions? And give examples of that. Here you might be repeating a lot of stuff that's from examples in your functions, but with more text explanation, and you can show images and such. So we've got a little table, a link, all of that. Right, this might be a really short class because vignettes are actually not that hard. So after you've confirmed that this looks about like what you want it to look like, what we can then do is build the vignettes, which sort of adds them to your package and in a way so that you can look them up with the vignette function. So if we do dev tools, build vignettes. So that goes into the console. Also, if you don't want to install your package for any reason, build vignettes function doesn't require it to be installed. It sort of does everything, installs in a clean version. I think it uninstalls it afterwards. All right, so this will copy your vignettes to a directory and demo package called doc. Right, so this is your documentation. Don't worry about that too much, but you can go in here and open up, oh no, not in the editor. Don't open it in the editor. Don't edit that file directly. Open it in your web browser if you want to have a look at it, and that's what it looks like. All right, let's see. Okay, Daniela, yours opens in a pop-up window instead of the viewer panel. That is totally normal. So if you want to change where your previews show, you can go to global options. And then, is it maybe R mark? Yeah, in the R markdown section, show output preview in. I've got it set to viewer pane. You can also open it up in another window, or just don't open it up. Like every time you knit something, maybe you want to decide whether or not you want to open it up and go open it up manually. So mine's set to viewer pane, yours is set to window. You can change that if you want. How is my output showing inline in the RMD file? Okay, so the fact that I can see this table here, that is also in that same global option. So if you pop into our markdown, show in on, where is that? Show equation and image previews inline. Show output inline for all my markdown documents. I'm not entirely sure which of these, but I have that checked and I have this as inline. And if I undo those, then I wouldn't be able to see that. So check and see what your options are there and move those around. It's also the document outline, this bit over here. I have it so that I'm only showing the actual sections, but not named chunks and not all chunks. But if you like to organize yours with the chunk names in there as well, you can change it to that. Yeah, and also this is where you can turn on soft wrapping, so that lines wrap around if they're longer than the screen can show you. Oh, say from the setting cog, where is the setting cog wheel? Is this the setting cog wheel? Oh yeah, okay. I don't know if that changes the global options or just for, does that change global? Or is it just for this particular one? You can also use the visual editor. I hate the visual editor, I never turn it on. Oh, there we go, chunk output inline versus in console. So we change. Then we can remove the output from here, that goes away. And then if I do this, Oh, it goes down here. Ah, yeah. I like it up here, but some people don't. All right, and Lisa Levinson thinks it's 6 globally if you change it here, and that is more convenient than going into the global options, I think. Thank you for letting me know. Did I get everything? All right, so we have run DevTools. Where did we go there? Yeah, so we've built everything. We've built the vignette index, and that's what says which vignettes are in the package. And now we can reload our package. So load all. Save that, so I've made some changes to it. All right, so now if we do the vignette, package, oh, no, package equals demo package. Hopefully that will show us that we have one vignette in demo package. It's called demo package. And so if we just look up the vignette for demo package, it should show us either in the viewer or in a pop-up window, this help file. No vignettes found. Pangias, have you run, did you run load all after? Okay, so everybody who has found none, we're gonna do again, make sure you type in the console, DevTools, build vignettes, okay? So it's gonna remit and let me know, like put a thumbs up or a thumbs down, what happened. Thumbs up if you get this output, that it's created, finished rebuilding, copied them, built vignette index. Okay, so did anybody not get this? Okay, there we go. Let's look at that error. Failed with diagnostics. Okay, mapping values are not allowed at line 4, column 13. What's going on with line 4, column 13? In yours, well, that sounds like a YAML header problem. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I had you do this thing, and it looks like you've probably messed up one of the YAML is just really picky. So line 3 has to be output colon, skip a line, 2 spaces, R markdown 2 colons, HTML vignette colon, skip a line, 4 spaces, there can be no deviations here, df underscore print colon needs a space and then cable. So double check that that's exactly what's going on here, because this almost certainly that error message means there's a typo there. All right, so, and once you've checked that, got that sorted, redo the build, and then load all, and see if you can get the demo package vignette. Okay, at least this is fine without quotes on cable. I think it is, that is optional for the YAML. So I'm gonna not put it in because I think it's unusual to put the quotes there for YAML. Okay, awesome. Yes, it is really easy to like miss that colon or that colon or leave the space out. There's just so much you can do to mess up a YAML header. I hate them so. I was really, really against YAML until I went to a like one of those online talks that happened during the pandemic, and got put into a breakout room with the guy who invented YAML, and he was really, really nice. And I don't hate YAML so much anymore. And he also acknowledges that like there are problems with it, but there are also problems it solves. All right, anybody else still having problems with finding their vignette? All right, so Vignette demo pack. All right, Senya, let's figure, so what did you get this output when you did the build? Did it say it was happening vignettes, moving that, or yes? Okay, so you got that, and then you did load all, right? Okay, tell me what you get if you type vignette package equals demo package. You get no packages here, or does it have a different name? All right, your list, what is that vignette called? Okay, so try this vignette. What? Demo package. All right. So we're gonna name the vignette and also name the package it's come from, and see if that works. Okay, that weirdly means that there's another vignette on your computer somewhere also called demo package. So normally, if you give your vignettes names that are almost guaranteed to be unique, so like don't call it introduction, then if somebody just does vignette, the name of the vignette, they don't have to specify the package because it's something that's already loaded. But you can always specify the package to be absolutely sure that you're getting the right vignette. All right, so the next thing that we need to do, because I on purpose didn't do something you're supposed to do so that we can see what the error message is. We're going to run the general checks. So this is why I was hoping everybody has no check problems before. We probably should have went through that, but if you go into the build tab, click check. I save anything you've put changes to. So it is going to do a bunch of stuff. Let's make that bigger. So updates documentation, loads up your package, builds the whole thing. Checking stuff. Hopefully these are all green checks. It's doing a weird thing about file timestamps that we're going to ignore. More checking. There's so much checking. All right. Now it's going to check our vignettes. Now it's doing all the tests. All right, got two notes. This first one we're going to ignore. You can Google that and also find out that it's not a big deal and how to get rid of it. But this note, so the notes are like you gotta fix them if you're going to submit your stuff to CRAN. If it's just a package you're making for you or to distribute on GitHub, they're not things you have to fix, but this one's useful to fix. So this tells us that there's an unstated dependency in the vignette, which is dplyr. So don't worry about the library require call not declare, but we've not told our package that you're going to need dplyr to be able to run the example code in the vignette. So what we need to do is pop back into the console, use this, use package. So this is how we normally add in dependencies. So if you're using a package in your code, you need to definitely add that as a dependency. But if you're using a package not in any of your function code, but you're using it in a vignette as an example, you can add it as a suggested package that you suggest somebody uses this or has this package to be able to run your examples, but they don't need it to use your package. So we're going to say dplyr. And then the type equals suggests instead of imports, because they don't have to have it. Okay, and you're gonna get like a little bit of output. All that's gonna do is change your description file to suggest dplyr. So you could also just edit the description file manually if you prefer that. But again, I really like use this. because it removes a lot of the, like, you have to memorize what file and where and exactly what syntax and how many spaces you got to put before things and whether or not it needs commas after it. You don't have to remember any of that. This will just do it for you. All right, I'm not going to run the check again. I can just tell you that this note will go away now. So notes are things that you might want to sort out. If you're going to submit to CRAN, you have to sort them out. But they're not impeding the use of your package. They're not major problems. Right, so at that point, your next step is you can go back and edit your vignette more. So you've got this data section, you might add more text, you might add more plot, you might create more vignettes. So you can have multiple vignettes for one package, or you can just have the one kind of main vignette. If you only have one main one, I'd give it the same name as the package. It makes it really easier for people to find, like if you want to find the getting started vignette for any package, you would expect to be able to type vignettes, name of the package, and it just open up. And again, for next week, it's gonna, that will give this particular vignette a special place on the website to help you. This is how you get started with this package. And then additional vignettes are listed under articles on the package down website. Rerunning check also got rid of the timestamp note. So yes, I've got a few packages on CRAN. Faux for, actually, you want to see my CRAN packages? I'm very proud of my CRAN packages. They were a lot of work. We pop into my blog. Where's faux? So faux, and actually this is a good example of tutorials site. So this is a package down website, like we're going to make next week. So this is the front page is made out of the README text. This one doesn't have a getting started. It probably should. Package down websites also automatically create a reference page for all of your documented functions, where you go in and look, and then it creates this sort of reference page out of the example documentation that we created with Roxygen for each function. So there's the function reference list, and then additional vignettes are here under articles. So this is a package that I created to help people simulate data from factorial designs, and it's also moving into multi-level design simulation as well. So like if you want to make a 2x2 factorial design with like pets by time of day, you can just sort of set up your variables like this, the means and standard deviations of your data, and then it will generate simulate data for you. It's useful for teaching purposes, for prepping data for, or like prepping code for a pre-registration for a study or register report, and also useful for power calculations. If you've got a kind of analysis you're doing that there isn't a way to just look up the power calculation for it, all you do is simulate data with the effect that you're looking for, or the smallest effect size you're interested in. Do that 1,000 times, run your analysis on those 1,000 data sets, and just count how many of them fit your criteria. Like how many of the p-values that you're looking at are less than your critical alpha. And then there's also things you can do with these package on websites, like have a change log. So like every time we've got a new version of faux, and I had been updating it pretty regularly for a while, then you can explain, what is it you did? What did you break anything? What did you add? So people can, when they look at new versions, figure out what's changed. And then all of this stuff gets kind of created out of the description file. You add a link to another vignette within a vignette. I am pretty sure you can. I think we do this in So this is a paper or a package one. Actually, I'll give you the link for this one. So this is documenting a paper that Dale Barr and I published in AMPS about mixed effects models. And let me see. The articles here are all, this is the paper itself. And I'm pretty sure I linked to the, oh no, but anyways, so the articles themselves, they just have a web link. So this one is under articles. So it's in the main website, and we'll talk about this next week. Under articles, appendix 1A underscore example underscore code. So that's the name of this vignette. So yeah, you can link to them. It's just for a, the links might look a little bit different if you want it to be in a package down website versus you want to link to them in the documentation that comes along with the package. So this is the difference here. Let me pop this back up. Yeah, so in like the RStudio viewer here, I think we can link to things. Actually, probably ggplot does this. So what was vignettes? ggplot2, they're always referring to each other. Oh, it's vignette. What am I doing here? Oh no, it's package equals ggplot2. That's what I needed. And then the specs. Okay. So there are links in here, but how do they link to other ones of themselves? Oh, I pop this out. No, that didn't work either. This is something I will look up for you and try to figure out. I'm sure that you can link them to each other, but I just need to figure out exactly how. Yeah, so the vignettes have a kind of dual purpose here. So there's the documentation that comes along with your package. So if anybody downloads your package, they'll have all of the vignettes. But you can also use them to create these package on websites. And you can additionally add in articles that are on your package on website, but don't come along with your package. So a lot of the faux articles are full of images, which would be much too big and make the package too big for CRAN. So they're only on the package down website. They're not embedded in the package's vignettes. So actually, does faux have any vignettes? Oh, it does. Okay. It has a few, but not all of them. So like there's a, oh, here, contrasts does not have very many. So if we look at the very many images. So I got frustrated with contrasts one day and I could not figure out like the names that people give different kinds of contrasts, like treatment dummy, simple contrasts, but these, there's like 3 different kinds of contrasts that are called simple by different people, or some contrasts. So I wrote a whole kind of explainer and turned it into a vignette here. It's got a few images, but not too many images, so it can fit in. All right, let me just have a look at the chat here. All right, no, that seems, yeah, so vignettes, pretty straightforward. You just edit them. The only really tricky thing about them is that they need to have this specific YAML header, but if you make them with the use this function, that all gets pretty much set up for you. Ooh, chunk. Fussing with this updated that. I don't want that updated. There we go. Get rid of that. Was that really? Oh yeah, that's what changed it. And then if I change it back to inline, okay, so you could control that for other people. All right, that's vignettes. Does anybody have any questions? Why are you seeing 2 readmes in my files? Okay, so did we make a readme together as a class? I can't remember if we did this, but readme.rmd. If you don't have any readmes, the best way to make a readme is use this, use readme, and you can choose either MD, so it's just plain markdown with no R code, or RMD. If you're going to include any R code, and usually if you're making an R package, you want your README to have some R code in it. So I would usually do README RMD. And that creates both the RMD file and then also the MD file. So the MD file is the one that's used to show the README on GitHub and in the package documentations. And it's created from the RMD file. So at the default you'll get is this note tells you, and this is lost my words for this, less than bang dash dash is how you start a comment in HTML, and then you end it with dash dash greater than. And it just tells you it's readme.rmd is generated from readme.md. No, MD is generated from RMD. Please edit that file. So don't ever edit the MD file that has been created from the RMD file. And the RMD file is where we can put in things like R code to control how things look. Again, Hadley Wickham preferences of collapsing our code and starting output with that. These are not my preferences, but if you make it look like this, then it will look like how people expect package documentation to look. Right, yeah, so actually we're not evaluating that, but if there was any code in here that we were evaluating, then it would need to be in an RMD file. Yes, and you do have somebody who's put, Miriam, thank you for reminding me to say that. So you'll get the RMD file. If you make any changes to it, you gotta knit it in order to create the MD file. And the MD file is what is used in the package documentation and what shows on GitHub. So if you make edits to RMD and you don't make edits to MD, there is, I think, you'll get a warning if you do a check. So if I do like this, I'm going to save that, but I'm not going to knit it. I'm going to run the check and have a look at Lisa's comment while that's running, because I think it's going to give me a note about how the RMD and the MD file aren't consistent. Can you create an MD file separately from the RMD? You should not. Like, you can edit the MD file, but why would you want to do that? The RMD file is just like a way to run our code to create the markdown file. The markdown file is the important file. But if you were going to edit it entirely manually, then no point in creating our markdown file.
I just don't have that.
Have two different things.
I'm sorry, I just don't have the .md file, so I'm wondering how I get one.
Knit it. You gotta knit your RMD file.
Oh.
At least it's vignettes working inside the package project.
Got it.
But you've had trouble when you're working on a different project and trying to load a vignette from a personal package that doesn't find the vignettes. Okay, so when you're working on your projects, check and see if that package is actually installed. So if I uninstall this package, it's not installed, and I sorry, loaded, because I'm just doing my working on it in a project. Then vignette demo package should, package. Yeah. Okay. So if I say it's from demo package, it's loaded. I can see it here. But if I go into another project, and find a project that does not have demo package in it that will open quickly. Into our package, it should be. Then I think it won't work. Pop through here and just copy that while it's opening. So is that what you're getting, Lisa? Is that there is no package called demo package?
Well,
Or
even
is-
after loading, sorry, even after loading like doing library demo package. So it's in, you know, I've loaded the library, but
Okay.
it still doesn't find the.
Are you getting there is no package called demo package, or you can load it?
No, I can load it and everything
Okay,
else in the
so
package works, but
you've
the
installed it.
vignettes.
You installed it before you put the vignettes in it. So the installed
No,
version
no,
that
it
you
has the
have-
vignette. Like right now, if I like the one we're working with, if I open another project and I have the package installed
But
and I
are
load
you
it,
sure?
it won't find the
Okay,
vignette.
we'll do a quick check here. So, what I was looking for on here did not give me a note about these two being incompatible. It's packaged down. When we run package down next week, it will give you a note about if you haven't knit your RMD file for README. But okay, how we're going to test what I think is going on here is I want you to go into your description file. And we're going to increment our version number. This is week 6. I'm going to call it 9006 now. And you can update the date if you want. What is today? It's the 9th. All right, so save that. Now, install that version. So we're going to click install, and this is going to install your demo package here. Right. And now hopefully vignette demo package in this window. Now mine's not working. What's going on?
I've had this problem a bunch of times before because I have like a personal package that I use. And everything else about the package works, but I can't access the vignettes. And I wanted to, because I wanted it to have like my own little personal help file that I could load in my RStudio. And everything else
so
about the
demo
package, like
package-
all my functions work, but I can't get the vignettes. And it works if I put it on GitHub, and I think it's like if I install it non-locally. So if it's on GitHub and I use like remotes or DevTools or whatever to install it from GitHub, then it works. But if but that's like annoying if I update the package to have to always like put it there and then get it remotely.
Yes.
And when I install it locally, it doesn't, the vignettes like aren't found.
Yes. Okay. So I think we're repeating. This is the annoying thing that's happening to you, right?
Okay. I in part was curious if it was like just
Okay, so
on
it's
my
not just
system, but
you.
you're having the same thing. Okay.
All right. So I installed this, and as soon as I installed it and was trying to do it, so I'm going to load it a sec, and let's see. Try this, and that works fine. So now that it's loaded, all right, but it's not going to work in the other project I've got here. So I can library demo package, and that it's loading, it exists, but vignette demo package is not found, and it's going to have no vignettes. Ooh, annoying. Yeah.
It's very
okay.
weird. Yeah.
And then if I
Okay.
try to load it from, I haven't uploaded this stuff to GitHub yet, but I'll check and see. I'm assuming it'll work the same as yours, that from GitHub, it's fine. All right, we've documented the problem. That's the first step. And I'll see if I can either fix it or we can submit an issue.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was just me, so it's good to know maybe it's an
No.
issue to be submitted. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think it's just that I typically always load things using load all when I'm working on something. And then I send it to GitHub, and then I install it from GitHub to check that that works. So I've always installed from GitHub. I hardly ever
Yeah.
install from local files. All right.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so yeah, I guess we can wrap up unless anybody else has got questions. I will, if I find out the answer to this, I'll pop it at the end of the chapter. Zane, thank you for the typo check. All right. I'll see you guys later.